Today we're discussing the future of fraud investigation, and our guest is a nationally recognized expert in scams, identity theft, and cybersecurity, as well as a lawyer, college professor, and prolific author. He's authored more than 10 books, including The Truth About Avoiding Scams, named by Smart Money magazine as one of the 10 best money books of the year. I'd like to welcome Steve Weisman. Hi, Steve.
It's good to be with you.
Great to have you. So to get started, can you share a little bit about yourself? We'd love to hear about your background and the experiences that you've had that really shaped your career in fraud investigation and cybersecurity.
Sure. I'm a lawyer from Massachusetts. I'm also a college professor at Bentley University in Waltham, where I teach white-collar crime. I'm also a columnist for Forbes magazine on white-collar crime. Before I was a professor at Bentley University, I taught at Boston University, the University of Massachusetts, and Curry College without ever setting foot on the campuses of either of those schools. And this was before remote learning, because I taught in their prison education program. So I used to jokingly say I taught con law to cons. But I met a lot of students, some of whom became friends, who were scammers. And one of the interesting things was they were decrying the fact that back when they perpetrated some of their frauds, it took skill, and now a 14-year-old with a computer can do what took them a lot more effort. So I guess I've always been fascinated with stories and fraud stories and the history of frauds. And quite frankly, I would say there are very few new frauds, but they are evolved. So for instance, the Nigerian email scam is the evolution of a fraud from the 1500s called the Spanish prisoner. So scammers, they've adapted to technology tremendously. One of the things even with Interpol once said they thought there were only about 100 cyber criminal geniuses, but their business model has evolved, and so they'll create the malware and the delivery system for so many of these financial scams, and then they will sell or lease those scams and the use of their services on the dark web, where criminals go to buy and sell goods and services. So I guess I've always been interested in it, perhaps more personally when I became a victim of identity theft.
Oh, no.
I've also been fascinated by why intelligent people fall for scams. And of course, very interested in AI. Last fall, I testified before the U.S. Senate's Select Committee on Aging about the effects of artificial intelligence on scams. So it's something, I started a blog, scamicide.com, and when I started it about 12 years ago, I wondered whether, I have a scam of the day, and I wondered whether I'd ever have enough to have a scam for each day. And we're up to about 4,800 scams, and
Wow.
we're still going. So yeah, I'm the scam guy.
The scam guy. And throughout your career, you've covered obviously so many scams, cybersecurity, identity theft, as you mentioned. So what are the trends in the financial fraud have you observed over the years, and how have they influenced the methods of investigators using today?
Yeah, that is the big thing. As much as I say the scams don't change, but they do evolve. There was a famous bank robber, Willie Sutton, who once was asked why he robbed banks, and he said because that's where the money is. But now we have groups like the Russian cybercrime group Carbanak, which will rob banks electronically, and banks get robbed around the world. And Carbanak, most notably, they hit the National Bank of Bangladesh. They did it over a weekend so that they would have more time to cover their steps. But what they did was, again, it's technology. They use spear phishing emails to lure a employee of the bank to downloading malware that allowed the scammers and cyber criminals to be able to go throughout all of the networks of the bank, including seeing not only the passwords and how they use the SWIFT system, it's an acronym, but it's how banks transfer money internationally, but also who from the bank would send it, what kind of language they would use, and by doing this, when they waited for that weekend, they sent an email, supposedly, from the Bank of Bangladesh to the Federal Reserve in New York, where millions of dollars were being held on behalf of the Bank of Bangladesh, and then had it distributed throughout the world to start the money laundering process. And it was only a minor spelling error and also, old school looking at an email that just didn't seem right that got the Federal Reserve to cut it off. Not before millions were distributed, though.
Oh.
So digital fraud is really, that's where it's at now. And artificial intelligence is being used by scammers, even to the point of scammers. You have a lot of them coming from foreign countries, particularly North Korea, Iran, Russia. And what you have here is often, because it's not the primary language, some of the phishing, spear phishing emails they would use and phony websites weren't of great quality. But with the AI, the field has become tremendously broadened for them, because now they can have emails that appear legitimate. They can make websites that look good. They can trick people, manipulate people. I often say the cyber criminals have a knowledge of psychology Freud would have envied. So the getting into the digital world, the cryptocurrency world, this is where I see scams going now, blockchains, all of this. And this is where the scams are going to be for the foreseeable future.
Those are great points. We all use AI to help us write emails. I never thought that a scammer could also use it to write emails. So definitely something to watch out for. And some of these fraud schemes have grown increasingly complex, right? And so in your view, what are some of the common investigative challenges that come with this complexity, and how can investigators overcome them?
Yeah, and that's one of the things where right now I think a lot of people in the public are aware how, and it's what I testified for Congress, how AI is being used to perpetrate scams and frauds and deepfakes and all of this. However, it is very much a double-edged sword, because the AI being used by you guys, the good guys, and security and investigators now allows them to not only to see great amounts of transactional data. So if you are hitting a bank, for instance, they're going to be, the security people are going to be able to analyze all of the transactions coming out and do it in real time. They're going to also be able to better recognize AI deepfakes. We're getting a dramatic evolution of not just the fraud techniques, but the manners in which we can actually detect those. And that, to me, is perhaps the most hopeful thing at a time when the financial products and the ability to do fraud are just so expanded that we need that AI defense.
Sure. And you've mentioned this technology is advancing rapidly, and the data has become more accessible to everybody. So how do you see the role of data changing in fraud investigations, and what advantages does it bring to uncovering fraud?
Yeah, data is the key, and I think even more so for defending, because now you can have data analytics that are able to identify patterns and spot irregularities across large data sets. And this was something that really technologically couldn't be done before. It can be done also in real time. So this is something where scammers, and cyber criminals, if they're taking, which they often do with the more sophisticated cyber crimes, time to develop and perpetrate their scams, the AI defenses, by using all of that data, is able to trace it. They're able to trace financial activity. They can also cross-reference multiple data sources. So this in particular is going to help as far as things like money laundering. They can do, the data can be used for profiling, and profiling gets a bad name, but in certain instances, profiling is very good. And here, with the profiling, using all of this data, AI is going to help identify where are the high-risk targets. They're also going to be able to do behavioral analysis, and this is something where insider threats, which often come with social engineering, this is going to be identified. So I'm really excited about how much data can be leveraged and used for cybersecurity, and I think that's going to be really one of the biggest things that's going to help us.
Absolutely. I feel like AI is definitely a game changer. It's increasingly applied to many industries, including fraud investigations. And what are some of the most promising ways you see AI aiding fraud investigators today?
One of the things is AI will have algorithms, and the algorithms can go through all kinds of transactional data, and they're going to be able to compare that with historical data. They're also going to be able to look at what's going on and even predict what's going on. And that's where I think one of the things is going to be happening, where you're actually even going to be able to prevent crime, because you're going to have an idea through AI and behavioral analysis and predictive analytics to be able to find where are the risk areas, where are they likely to come from, and even identify certain types of cyber crimes before they happen.
That would be great to proactively prevent these crimes and protect people. However, many, like you mentioned, do worry that AI is a double-edged sword, right? As fraudsters can get also use of it for their advantage. So what risks or ethical considerations should investigators keep in mind when they use AI for their work?
Yeah, here's the thing. AI gathers information, harvests information, as we often say, from many areas. And so when you're harvesting information, you've got to know how good your sources are. And AI may have issues as far as biases, and we need to be aware, and really this is a matter of honing down AI to be able to recognize this. But recognizing the good data and making sure your data is good. The other thing is a question, and I come up with this with my students in regards to AI when we're dealing with actually intellectual property. Is there any ethical requirement as far as the use of people's personal AI, which make up this data, when you're going to use it for security purposes? And we have certain laws, particularly in the European Union, that are more protective of this. But I think the idea is to recognize that people should be willing to opt in for this, and I think we generally would be willing to do so. So we need to be aware of the ethics there, but definitely it's something that is going to go on.
Yeah, in addition to AI, there are other technologies like the machine learning and data visualization, and they're really gaining ground. What impact do you think these technologies have on uncovering hidden patterns in financial transactions?
Yeah, and that's something I'm really thrilled. I'm glad you brought that up, because machine learning and data visualization, we learn better from visuals, and particularly when you're in cybersecurity, you get a lot of data, you talk in a lot of data, you think in a lot of data, but you need to communicate to our clients and the public in a way that they will understand. So first of all, machine learning will detect these anomalies. They'll analyze the historical data. They'll know what normal should look like, and they'll know about when it comes to, let's say from a bank, they'll learn to know what are the regular patterns, what are deviations from these patterns, what about with certain types of investments and institutions. So they'll uncover the hidden patterns and make from this, they're also going to be able to do predictive modeling. So this is really terrific stuff. And machine learning also can monitor, things like we never, before. They can even monitor your typing speed, the mouse movements. All of these things can detect suspicious behavior. And to me, this is actually it's thrilling because it's non-obtrusive, but it is able to identify sources of problems before they even become a problem.
That's great. And you've mentioned identity theft. It's really a persistent issue in financial fraud. You mentioned you were a victim. I've been through it, and I've even had a law enforcement officer. Yep. Tell me, it's not if, it's actually when,
Yep.
right? So do you think AI-based technologies offer new solutions to prevent or mitigate it, and how so?
Yeah, and you were absolutely right. The question is not if you're going to be a victim, it is when. And you look at data breaches, and data breaches, they're occurring regularly. And so we're only, no matter what steps we're taking, we're only as safe as the companies and institutions and agencies that are guarding our data. And this is where there needs to be much greater encryption of the data that's being held. But I'm looking at identity theft and looking at things where perhaps, people blame your amygdala. Your amygdala is a part of our brain that developed early in evolution. And what it did was allow us to react to emergencies so that we weren't going to think or consider. We saw the rustling in the bushes and it's a saber-toothed tiger, so we got to jump out of the way. But that works against us and in favor of the cyber criminals, because they'll create what are emergency situations, and people will fall for those, and they will provide passwords or other information. Give you an example. There was a Jennifer Lawrence had nude photos of hers that were posted all over the internet, and she was very, very critical of Apple and her iCloud account because that was where they got taken from. Later, we found out that she got a socially engineered spear phishing email that said, "Hi, I'm from Apple Security. We just need to confirm your password."
Yeah.
And she turned it over. So we have met the enemy, and he is us. But here is people are going to fall for that. I mean, we can criticize, but we need to put in the fail-safes. We need to put in multi-factor authentication, and this can be something like as commonly a code is sent to your phone as a text message. Although scammers will do SIM swaps, they will call, pose as you, answer a question easily determined from your internet service provider to have the SIM card switched to their phones. But that's where AI is going to come in, because they're going to have better face, voice, fingerprint, behavioral biometrics to be able to confirm who we are. And I think that's going to go a long way towards protecting us from identity theft in online banking, secure access, all of these AI ways of verifying who we are is going to really make things much better as far as protecting our identity.
Wow. And for federal and state investigators, integrating these new tools can sometimes be challenging. So what advice would you offer agencies looking to adopt AI-based solutions for fraud detection and analysis?
Yeah, this is one of the things, the Titanic went down because it's difficult to steer quickly the big ship. And when we're talking about large bureaucracies in federal and state agencies, this is something that is always going to be a challenge. But what they can do is they really have to get involved with AI, and AI will make their job easier. One of the things we can do is make it easy on ourselves. AI can be used to centralize or kind of bring together, unify different data platforms. So we've got the data out there, in a way, going back, and it wasn't cybercrime, but the attacks on 9/11. There were various federal agencies, individually, that had information about the hijackers, and if they were able to share that information, very well may have been able to have been stopped. And that's what's going to be so helpful with AI, because you're going to have different agencies that seamlessly will be able to gather the data and share the data. They'll be able to collaborate and develop new models. And they can, this I think is going to be one of the biggest things they can do. They can create feedback loops, continuous model improvements, and work slowly, learn how to do it, how to play better, and it's what we learned in kindergarten, how to play it together. And I think that's what's going to come. They're going to need to start small, share data, and then see what can be done.
And lastly, looking toward the future, where do you see fraud investigation evolving in the next decade, especially with advancements in AI and other technologies?
Yeah, I think, to me, one of the biggest thing is AI is going to enable 24/7 monitoring of all transactions automatically. So it's going to be able to flag suspicious behavior in real time. It's going to be able to identify complex cyber crimes while they're going on, or even predict them and be there to defend. Blockchain technology has been used for cryptocurrencies, and blockchain chain technology is also something that is going to be able to be used in protecting from cybercrime. AI is going to be able to enhance our ability to identify these anomalies while they're happening. It's also, as we talked about, going to make cross-agency AI models be able to be shared so much, not just here, but around the world. And then, let's jump way in the future, or not too much in the future. We're going to deal with quantum-powered analytics. So quantum computing is going to even dramatically increase the speed of our data processing, which is going to be a tremendous tool for the security people and protection of all of us. So, I mean, ultimately, right now, it's a scary world out there, and cybercrime and fraud are huge businesses. But really, I'm actually very hopeful, and I think I'm particularly hopeful because I think AI can cut through the bureaucracies, and I think AI-enhanced cybersecurity is what's going to save us in the not too distant future.
So many great points. I agree. AI can do so many things that were unimaginable just a few months, years ago, such as, like you mentioned, analyzing millions of transactions. And I think the key point is in real time, right? So, so thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your stories. And it's great to have you here, Steve.
It's great to talk with you.